One of the biggest problems that I hear from you driving on DoorDash is you get zero or very little peak pay, and or you don't get any orders even when you're out driving. So in this video, I'm going to give you some reasons why that might be happening. Now, firstly, if you are new to the channel, this channel is dedicated to your success in this gig economy, the side hustle. So if you are new here, consider subscribing. Also, make sure you know the fundamentals and how to make the most money when it comes to delivery apps. Visit yourdrivermike.com/delivery. So after driving almost 1,400 deliveries on the DoorDash platform, now I'm coming to you from San Diego, California, I've mapped out 5 reasons why, number 1, you may not be getting peak pay and or you're not getting any orders. Now, if you're not familiar with the DoorDash peak pay, that is incentive pay, bonus pay to you as a dasher. So typically during the busiest times, DoorDash may offer bonus pay in the form of peak pay. They'll say, well, drive from this time to this time, get an extra whatever it is, $2, $1, $3 extra for every delivery you complete. Now, there's also what's called challenges on DoorDash. Technically, it's still in beta, but I am seeing that more and more. Now, challenges are when you need to complete a certain amount of deliveries and then you'll receive kind of a grouped bonus. So in that circumstance, you may have to complete whatever it is, 5 deliveries and receive an extra $15. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the most standard incentive pay on DoorDash. That's peak pay. And number 1, I'm sorry, someone's got to tell you, but number 1, maybe your marketplace just doesn't give peak pay. Large marketplaces like here in San Diego, LA, New York, Houston, marketplaces with millions and millions of people. I mean, if you think about it, stands to reason you're going to have more orders, you're going to need more drivers. So DoorDash is going to offer that peak pay, the bonuses, when they need those drivers. Supply and demand, if it's the breakfast, lunch, and dinner and they need those drivers on the road, they're going to offer that peak pay. So if you're in a small or medium market or a market that simply has enough drivers. Now, unfortunately, there's really no way to measure that. That's kind of what DoorDash sees. Chances are your marketplace is not going to get peak pay. But let's assume that your marketplace does get peak pay, at least somewhat regularly. Let's talk about why you're not seeing that peak pay. Well, number 1, you're driving the wrong times. I mean, with these food delivery apps, come on, it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, if your schedule only allows you to drive those in-between times or super early in the AM or super late at nights, chances are you may not be seeing peak pay because of that. There's an easy way to tell if your marketplace offers peak pay. That's up in your promotions tab on the Dasher app. Okay, well, at least I see some peak pay. So I'm getting some peak pay. Why aren't I getting any orders? Now, what I'm seeing, and I feel like a lot of you are echoing this, let me know down below in the comments if you're seeing this, but you're not getting any orders because you're driving on the highest peak pay. If your marketplace maxes out at $3, $4, $5 peak pay, it can look very attractive. You're like, I'm getting an extra $4 or $5 plus my original earnings plus tips. I'm going to take that shift. And so will most every driver in that area, especially if you don't see that peak pay that frequently. So you can sign up for the highest peak pay. You can sign up for that $5 peak pay. You can have a whole 4-hour shift on an extra $5 per each delivery you complete. But sitting and waiting for an order because it's super saturated with drivers doesn't pay. So try not to bite at the maximum peak pay. And I know it's attractive. I mean, we max out here in San Diego at $6.50 or $7 peak pay, which is insane. But you don't necessarily want to bite on that. I advise look for that happy medium, about 80-85% of your max peak pay. Number 4, this is a big one. This is something that I'm constantly doing more and more research on, but you're driving on peak pay and you're not getting any orders because you're sitting outside of your scheduled marketplace. So if I'm scheduled here, I'm scheduled for whatever it is, my 4-hour shift, right? I'm scheduled here on a peak pay. But I finished a delivery and I'm just gonna sit over here. I'm just gonna relax, sit in a plaza, what have you. Well, why would DoorDash give you an order when you're out here when there's plenty of drivers in here? So keep that in mind. Now, sometimes, and here's another thing that you can help me out with, let me know down below in the comments. but sometimes I am offered an order in that new ending zone. Now, other times, I know a lot of you may end that shift from that previous zone and go offline and go back online using the Dash Now feature in your new zone. Yes, that works. But if you're not going to do that strategy and you're just going to stay online, especially outside of that scheduled zone, that's why you're on peak pay and not getting any orders, because DoorDash wants you back in that zone. And next, really, there's a lot of theories on why you're not getting orders, but could be your phone. Could be your phone, it could be the Dasher app, it could be your cell signal, we don't know. So what I would do, just cover your bases, right? I would restart the app first. I would close out, I would go back into the app. You don't need to log out, you don't need to end your Dash or anything, just close the app and go back into it. Then click on Return to Dash, that's number one. I would restart your phone, number two. And then number three, just check your cell signal. If you're in a wooded area or somewhere where you're getting like 1 bar, try to obviously find some better signal. But if we go deep on this, and I'm curious about the conversation around this as well, are there other factors that go into why you're not seeing peak pay, or why when you're driving, you're not getting any orders? Is it things like acceptance rate, completion rate, tenure as far as how long you've been driving and or how many deliveries you've completed? A big one that I've heard is, what about your customer or your Dasher rating? Now, I've scoured DoorDash's website. I have not found anything that concretely says, hey, a better Dasher rating or a higher complete, well, any of that really matters in the algorithm as far as who they give an order to. Is it a possibility? Absolutely. Now, without seeing these internal algorithms, and in fact, we don't even really know if it's based on driver proximity. That's kind of a basis that was really in this industry 2015, 2016 with Uber and Lyft. It's giving the passenger the closest driver. So we in 2020 with a DoorDash can't even say with certainty that DoorDash is giving the order to the closest driver to that restaurant. We don't really know, and that's one of the tricky things with DoorDash, with their algorithm, because we don't know. Now, what you can do to protect yourself, because if it, for whatever reason, is dying out and it's slow when it usually isn't, you have to download other apps, because why would you sit there and be online with a DoorDash when there is a opportunity on Uber Eats, with Postmates, with Grubhub, or maybe if you want to do rideshare, right? Looking at other apps in other niches. Because I don't want you to waste your time. But again, number one, you have to come to terms with, maybe if you're not seeing peak pay, maybe your marketplace just doesn't get a lot of peak pay. So run some tests. I would take some shifts. I would take some shifts at different times, different days, different segments in your marketplace. I would do at least 5 shifts in each segment, and again, at different times as well, to really determine any trends as far as when it's best to drive for you. And speaking of driving, make sure you're prepared on the road, you have the right accessories. Visit my Amazon storefront, that's linked down below. And if you got value in this video, definitely drop me a like. And you can also click or tap the screen now for my most recent video, as well as a video recommended for you. And I'll see you in the next one.